start?
Yes, I can start.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. So we are now reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Chapter 5, Karma-yoga, action in Krishna consciousness, and verse 2. So how do we do now? Are we doing, I have to wait when everyone repeats the verse? I have no experience.
No, you don't need to wait. You can just recite. You can recite 3 times, and those who are muted can just recite without being on the audio. Okay? So you just don't wait for them to repeat.
Without waiting others, I'm reading the verse 3 times.
Yeah.
Okay. śrī-bhagavān uvāca sannyāsaḥ karma-yogaś niḥśreyasa-karāv ubhau tayostu karma-sannyāsāt karma-yogo viśiṣyate. śrī-bhagavān uvāca sannyāsaḥ karma-yogaś niḥśreyasa-karāv ubhau tayostu karma-sannyāsāt karma-yogo viśiṣyate śrī-bhagavān uvāca sannyāsaḥ karma-yogaśca niḥśreyasa-karāv ubhau tayostu karma-sannyāsāt karma-yogo viśiṣyate. So now word for word. śrī-bhagavān uvāca, the personality of Godhead said, sannyāsaḥ, karma-yogaś, work in devotion, cha, also, niḥśreyasa-karāv, leading to the path of liberation, ubhau, or tayoho, of the two, but karma-sannyāsāt, in comparison to the renunciation of fruitive work. Karma-yogaś, work in devotion. Viśiṣyate is better. So translation, the personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation, but of the two, work in devotional service is better than that renunciation, is better than the renunciation of work. Okay, so the purport. The fruitive activities seeking sense gratification are cause for material bondage. As long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of bodily comfort, one is sure to transmigrate to the different types of bodies, thereby continuing material bondage perpetually. Srimad Bhagavatam 5:5-4-6 confirms as follows. Nunam pramatta kurute karma yadindriya pritaya prinoti nasadu manye yatatmanoyam asanapi kleshada asadeha prabhavastavabodajato yavan najiyasata atmatattvam yavat kriyastavan tavat idam manovai karmatmakam sharira-bandha. Evam manaha karma vasham prayukte avidyayatman yapadiyane pritirnayavan mayi vasudeve namuchyate deha yogena tavat. So this translation of these verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. People are mad after sense gratification, and they do not know and they do not know that this present body, which is full of miseries, is a result of one's fruitive activities in the past. Oh, this body is temporary. It is always giving one trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good. One is considered to be failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about his real identity. As long as he does not know his real identity, he has to work for fruitive results for sense gratification. And as long as one is engrossed in the consciousness of sense gratification, one has to transmigrate from one body to another. All the mind may be engrossed in fruitive activities and influenced by ignorance. One must develop a love for devotional service to Vasudeva. Only then can one have the opportunity to get out of the bondage of material existence. Therefore, jnana, or knowledge that one is not this material body but spirit soul, is not sufficient for liberation. One has to act in the status of spirit soul. Otherwise, there is no escape from material bondage. Action in Krishna consciousness is not, however, action in the fruitive platform. Activities performed in full knowledge strengthen one's advancement in real knowledge. Without Krishna consciousness, mere renunciation of activities does not actually purify the heart of a conditioned soul. As long as the heart is not purified, one has to work on the future platform. But action in Krishna consciousness, I lost it. But action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one escape the result of fruitive passion, so that one need not descend to the material platform. Therefore, action in Krishna consciousness is always superior to renunciation, which always entails a risk of falling. Renunciation without Krishna consciousness is incomplete, as is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti-samrita Sindhu 1-258. Rapanchikateya buddhya harisambandhi vastunaha mukshubir parityago vairagyam paurukatyate. When persons eager to achieve liberation renounce things related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking them to be material, their renunciation is called incomplete. Renunciation is complete when when it is in the knowledge that everything in existence belongs to the Lord, and that no one should claim proprietorship over anything. One should understand that factually nothing belongs to anyone. Then where is the question of renunciation? One who knows that everything is Krishna's property is always situated in renunciation. Since everything belongs to Krishna, everything should be employed in service of Krishna. This perfect form of action is in Krishna consciousness is far better than any amount of artificial renunciation by a sannyasi of a Mayavadi school. Hare Krishna. So we'll read the Mangala Charana. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Kadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charne Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Pashyatya Dashtarmaja Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we have a very wonderful topic. It is action in Krishna consciousness, and here in this purport, of course in the verse also, because Arjuna was asking what's better, is it better to renounce the work, or is it is it better to work with devotion? So Krishna explains that both are good for liberation, but of these two, the work in Krishna consciousness, work with devotion is better. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains how is this better. So today we will actually look at the characteristics of devotional service to remind ourselves how is that better, and not just better, this is actually the only obligation, and not just obligation, the nature of the soul. So we will look at the different aspects of devotional service, and we will see the nature of devotional service. We will look at the effect of devotional service and the application, how to apply it in our life. Of course, we know devotional service, it's the bhakti is, you cannot really describe, like Krishna, you can't fully describe his qualities, his pastimes, his leelas. You can't fully describe the Vrindavan Dham. You can't fully describe the paraphernalia of Krishna. So the same bhakti is the same transcendental, this is the things that comes from the transcendental realm. So you can't fully describe it. But today we'll have an attempt to talk a little bit about it, just for our own inspiration, and to remind ourselves what everything is about. What do we have to do in our life? So first I'll talk about the nature of the devotional service, to understand what are we talking about, the nature of devotional service. So first of all, it is said that devotional service, it is unalloyed activity of soul. So Prabhupada also in a purport, he mentions that this is what soul does. Yeah? The soul is active and it serves. And it is not, it's not some, there is nothing to renounce. That's what Prabhupada says. Yes, there is, the first understanding, if we understand the sambandha, we understand the nature of this material world, because we are in this material world, so we have to understand it. So we understand the nature of the material world, in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we understand that everything belongs to Krishna, everything belongs to Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no question of renunciation. Who can renounce something that doesn't belong to them? It's not possible, even if we try hard. So the same, what else is left to do with material world? Okay, we can't renounce it because it doesn't belong to us. So we would maybe enjoy it. Yeah. So then again, it doesn't work because it doesn't belong to us. How we can enjoy it? It's a crime. So we will get implicated. So that's what the purport also says, that people are mad after sense gratification, and they do not know that this present body, which is full of miseries, is a result of one's fruitive activities in the past. So it is ignorance to actually hope to enjoy this world, because it just binds us to it, and we reap a fruit, we harvest what we've sown. Whether it's bitter or sweet, that depends. So there is this dualities, but duality itself can drive one mad. One time it finished, one time it started, then again finished. So where is the end to it? How to live like that? So there's no question of renunciation, and there's no much question of sense gratification also. If we understand the proper teachings, the sambandha, that this material world is the actual paraphernalia to worship Krishna, for jiva to worship Krishna. So what does soul do? What else? What is there left to do? We cannot renounce. We cannot. Okay, first we cannot enjoy. So then we give up. But there is nothing to give up. So what to do? So Prabhupada writes in Śrīmad Bhagavatam, first canto. He says, a living being in his normal constitutional position is fully satisfied in spiritual bliss. So we need, okay, fully satisfied. This state of existence is called Brahma Bhuta or Atma Anandi, a state of self-satisfaction. This self-satisfaction is not like the satisfaction of inactive fool. The inactive fool is in the state of foolish ignorance, whereas the self-satisfied Atma Anandi is transcendental. to the material state of existence. So here we can understand that the activity of soul is not activity of the material existence. This stage of perfection is attained as soon as one is fixed in irrevocable devotional service. Devotional service is not inactivity, but it is unalloyed activity of the soul. So devotional service is unalloyed activity of the soul. We defined it just to begin with. It's an unalloyed activity of the soul. So this is what soul does. So if we understand that I am not this body, I am not my ears, my nose, my arms, my hands, I'm not this body, I'm soul. I'm a spiritual body. So my activity, unalloyed, means pure activity of the soul, is devotional service. And we have to also note that devotional service means serving Krishna or things related to him, his tadiya. So this is a definition that the devotional service is activity of the soul. And we are soul. So what we're supposed to do, we're supposed to engage in devotional service. Another quote about the devotional service is what soul does. Such devotional service is the right course of action for the living entity. Only misers desire to enjoy the fruit of their own work, just to be further entangled in material bondage. Except for work in Krishna consciousness, all activities are abominable because they continually bind the worker to the cycle of birth and death. So actually the activities for any other activity except Krishna conscious is not natural for us. It's not natural for the soul because it binds to the cycle of birth and death. But birth and death is not natural also for us. So how can we do something except devotional service? We can't. We have to do devotional service to be established in real self, to actually be the soul. That's why in the purport is also said that just to understand that we are not a material body is not sufficient. Just that knowledge, okay, I'm not this body, you are not this body, we are not these bodies. It's not sufficient because one has to act upon this statement. If I am not this body, I have to act as if I am not this body. So how do I act? I have to act like soul. So what does soul do? Soul does devotional service. So we will continue as a soul. We'll do devotional service. So another characteristic is of the nature of devotional service is it's actually non-different from the Lord. It's non-different from the Lord. So another quote, before ending this life, if one fortunately becomes Krishna conscious, he at once attains the stage of Brahma Nirvana. There is no difference between the kingdom of God and the devotional service of the Lord, since both of them are on the absolute plane. To be engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord is to have attained the spiritual kingdom. In the material world, there are activities for sense gratification, whereas in the spiritual world, there are activities of Krishna consciousness. So we understand that to actually be engaged in the devotional service, pure devotional service, which is already being the consciousness of Vrindavan, consciousness of the kingdom of God. So in that way, we can see that it's a transcendental. So you can experience Krishna directly because it's non-different. So there is this pastime that in the afternoon, Srimati Radharani and Krishna, they had to separate because Krishna had to go home to see Madhurya Gaurangi and Radharani had to return to her house. So Radharani was very distressed with separation. She was burning in a fever and she couldn't do anything but laying down on her bed. So all her sakis, all her friends tried to somehow relieve her from the fever. They tried to put cool lotus leaves on her body. The lotus leaves just withered and fell off. They covered her body with chandan to cool the body of Radharani, but the chandan just dried up and fell off. So nothing helped, nothing. Radharani was just burning and burning from this fever of separation from Krishna. Until when? Until the moment that one of the messengers came from Yashoda Mai's house with a request for Radharani to cook some sweets for Krishna. So immediately the fear of separation disappeared and Radharani stood up, and immediately with greatest happiness and bliss she started to cook for Krishna. So then she only could experience Krishna's presence while she was engaged in his service. So that's how we can see that Srimati Radharani, who is seeing Krishna face to face every day, and still, and someone could say, oh, so how is this devotion? You can see from these pastimes that devotional service is playing the same effect upon Radharani's consciousness and her body and her mind as if Krishna is present. So only she could recover from her separation, from her state of separation, when she, from separation from being actually in the presence of Krishna, when she could do the service. So that's how we can see that another nature of devotional service is that it's non-different actually. It gives us direct association with the Lord. So then, talking more about the nature of devotional service is described as sublime and easy. It's sublime and easy. Whereas here also in the purport of this verse today, we heard that action in Krishna consciousness immediately helps us one to escape from fruitive activity, and it said that but renunciation of the work it always entails a risk of falling. So because it's difficult, so you don't fall from something that's easy, you fall from something that is difficult. So devotional service is sublime and easy. Srila Prabhupada says in the Bhagavatam, generally it is said, it means people may think generally, that the bhakti cult is meant for Shudras, Vaishyas and less intelligent women class. But that is not the fact. The bhakti cult is topmost of all transcendental activities, and therefore it is simultaneously sublime and easy. It is sublime for the pure devotees who are serious about getting in contact with the Supreme Lord, and it is easy for the neophytes who are just on the threshold of the house of bhakti. So it is sublime for those serious people who are very much absorbed in devotional service, because they directly perceive the Lord through serving him, and it is very sublime experience. And also for the new just starters, those who just start, just begin, it's not even a threshold, they haven't even entered the house of bhakti. For them it's easy, because they can engage everything in Krishna consciousness. It's easy. So another place Srila Prabhupada says, the indirect process is philosophical speculation, by which gradually one may come to the point of Krishna consciousness. And the other process is directly connecting everything with Krishna in Krishna consciousness. Of these two, the path of Krishna consciousness is better, because it does not depend on purifying the senses by application by a philosophical process. Krishna consciousness is itself the purifying process, and by the direct method of devotional service, it is simultaneously easy and sublime. So that's why it's also easy for new people. You don't need to be prepared. You just do it. You just engage in devotional service now, and it will bring you to the highest level just by doing it. There's no necessity of any pre-qualification to start. You start now and you'll get there. Prabhupada says again, as long as we do not give up the propensity of lording it over material nature, there is no possibility of returning to the kingdom of the Supreme, the Sanatan Dham. The eternal kingdom, which is never destroyed, can be approached by one who is not bewildered by the attractions of the false material enjoyments, who is situated in the service of the Supreme Lord. One so situated can easily approach the Supreme, because we are actually engaged in the activity of soul. So we are acting on that activity, on that level of the soul, by engaging ourselves in devotional service to the Lord. So we know that devotional service has 9 different aspects, starting from Shravanam, then there is Kirtanam, Atmanivedam. So all these activities bring one to the state of actually attaining that pure consciousness of love of God, where we can directly please the Lord. Directly meaning that Krishna needs our love. So when we are on the state of love of God, that's when we can please Him the most. It will make us happy as we learn about the perfect relationship. So that's what makes us sublime, because we can understand that this is our real relationship. This is our real relationship in life with Krishna. And it's eternal and it is real. So there's no illusion, there is no bewilderment, and there is no disappointment in this relationship. And we can see that eternal associates of the Lord, they have understood it. And for them, this relationship with Krishna, it just means everything. When Krishna leaves to his pasturing grounds every morning and every afternoon he returns, but still just because Krishna is leaving that morning, and for these some amount of hours he will be away from the village, from the Nandagram, then the local people, they are rushing on a street. Nothing is obstacle for them just to go there and see how Krishna is leaving. The old man, the grandfather gains his eyesight just to see Krishna. The brahmanas are giving blessings and chanting mantras. The children, everyone, even the young girls, they run just to see. He said, if we can't see, we are blind. What is there? There is no, whatever, even if we are punished 1,000 times, our punishment is if we can't see Krishna. So that's how sublime is this devotional service, and it allows us to perceive Krishna like that. So this was about the nature of devotional service, that we get intrigued and inspired. So what about effect? Okay, this was nice. Devotional service, it's easy, it's sublime, it is directly Lord, it's an devotion, it's an unhour activity of the soul. But what is the effect? What is, to me, what will happen if I perform devotional service? So first thing what I could mention here is a purification, because I would say that majority of inhabitants of this planet, or what to speak of planet, of this universe, are under some modes of nature, tamaguna, rajaguna, or sattvaguna also. So at least sattvaguna is more or less okay, where you can steadily perform devotional service. But rajaguna and tamaguna, it's often a disturbance. So what to do? It doesn't allow us to perform devotional service perfectly. But just by engaging in the devotional service itself will free us from rajas, from the effect of rajas and tamas. So Bhagavatam also says that just by engaging in that service will free us from the lower modes of nature. And Prabhupada also comments in Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, the opportunity of this purification is the special feature of human life. In other lives, it is not possible. Such purification can be achieved very easily by Radha Krishna bhajan, devotional service rendered to Radha and Krishna. Then he says, artificially, such sense desires cannot be stopped, because we know, we have heard before, that we have come here in this material world to become Ishvara and Bhogi, the controller and the enjoyer. Ishvara aham bhogi. So this is what is spinning in a mind of a living entity when it is in a material world. So that's, and the Prabhupada says here that artificial such desires can be stopped just by telling, okay, now stop. You're not a controller. You're not an enjoyer. Just act now properly as a servant of the Lord. Just telling like this, who can do? Yeah, so that's why one has to be engaged in Krishna consciousness. Then automatically, sense desires subside without extraneous efforts. Therefore, one has to engage himself in Krishna consciousness without hesitation. For this devotional service will instantly help one onto the platform of transcendental consciousness. So this devotional service is the one who purifies and then who lifts up to the transcendental consciousness. Not just us, the devotional service is so powerful that it doesn't purify only individual who practices, but it purifies every relative around also. It is said here, such help. So like we know the offering to forefathers and this, it's written here, such help rendered to forefathers is a family tradition. And those who are not in devotional service are required to perform such rituals. One who is engaged in devotional service, in devotional life, is not required to perform such actions. Simply by performing devotional service, one can deliver hundreds and thousands of forefathers from all kinds of misery. It is stated in śrī-bhagavān. You know this famous verse, when one surrenders to Mukunda, all the debts are already paid. So like that, and we can experience, we can see in the lives of devotees, there are many senior devotees who have not preached to their parents, but suddenly, end of their life, the parents are asking about the God, about Krishna. I know one personally, one very senior lady, she's here in Vrindavan, and she lived here for many, many years, and she hadn't seen her mother also for a long time, but now mother in her old age, she's keeping Bible on side and Bhagavad Gita just next to it, and she's chanting also Hare Krishna on the beads. It's just coming, it's just automatically coming. This is also Mahaprabhu's statement. When we know, when Amoga offended Mahaprabhu and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wanted to kick out Amoga from his family, then Mahaprabhu was very merciful, and he embraced and he delivered Amoga, and he told that even a dog in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house is very dear to me, what to speak of a relative. So if a person is engaged in pure devotional service, then all his relatives, even if they are not devotees, are very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's about relatives, and plus the purificatory effect of devotional service is so powerful that it's not just clearing one from some kind of anarthas, not just purifying one from sinful reactions, it's actually is pulling out the root, the desire to act on the bodily platform. So that's what devotional service does. So it's a supremely powerful, beautiful purifier. So then another feature, another effect of devotional service is it gives direct perception of the Lord. Like we know, there is this famous pastime of Srila Prabhupada when he asked, how do you know that Krishna is God? Someone says, oh, it's written in Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada says, Bhagavad Gita is just a book. But how do you know that Krishna is God? Oh, Prabhupada, you are telling us. But I can tell anything, I am old man. And then one new bhakta, he praised me, Prabhupada, because when I chant, I feel Krishna is present there. So you can feel anyone, even a newest person just starting being in touch with Krishna or with any kind of anything related to Krishna will feel that there is something spiritual there, something above this material nature. It's Krishna there. So And it's said, it's described, it's the same like a man who eats. Yeah, he feels the pleasure, the nourishment, and the hunger, and and the relief from hunger simultaneously. So with the same effect of devotional service, it's Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that through renunciation, a spirit soul attains satisfaction. When a man eats, he feels satisfied. So when we perform devotional service, we naturally feel like not too much engaged in any other material, anything is material world. So that kind of renunciation, because we understand everything is for Krishna's purpose, that gives us so much satisfaction. So then, through knowledge regarding one's relationship with the Supreme Lord, the spiritual soul attains nourishment, because that rasa, that juice is what gives the nourishment to the body, so to the mind, to the soul. So we are searching different rasas in this world. The boyfriend, the girlfriend, husband, the wife, the child, the friend and neighbor, the master and servant. We want to experience something, but it doesn't give us full satisfaction. It doesn't nourish the self. But when we attain a certain state of realizing, what to speak of realizing something very subtle, just that we are servants of Krishna, we belong to Krishna, that gives so much nourishment to the soul. So this is the power of direct perception through devotional service. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that through devotional service, soul attains a mitigation of hunger. So soul is hungry in this material world, starving. But once we engage in devotional service, the hunger becomes relieved. The person becomes fully satisfied. So that's the perception, how devotional service gives us that connection with Supreme. In another place in Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says, the soul's activity becomes adulterated in contact with matter, and as such, the diseased activities are expressed in the form of lust, desire, hankering, inactivity, foolishness, and sleep. The effect of devotional service becomes manifest by complete elimination of these effects as passion and ignorance. The devotee is fixed at once in the mode of goodness, and he makes further progress to rise to the position of Vasudeva, of the state of unmixed sattva or Shuddha sattva. Only in this Shuddha sattva state one can always see Krishna eye to eye by dint of purification of the Lord. So at the very beginning of devotional service, we feel that something special about it. And we start rising above tamas, above rajas, and even we transcend the sattva. And we enter that state of Vishuddha sattva. And then the really presence of the Lord is so perceived. So this is the power of devotional service. So there is also another pastime from Srila Prabhupada. Keshav Bharati Maharaj asked Prabhupada, what is this feeling that when we distribute books, then there's something very special. When we see that person has taken book and walks away with the book, there is very special feeling. What is that feeling? And I'm sure that whoever has tried to distribute books in his life had that feeling. And he asked Prabhupada, what is that feeling? And Srila Prabhupada says, this is a hug of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is how powerful is devotional service. You can even get a hug of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can get a hug of Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you don't need to even be supremely elevated for that. Just engage in devotional service. Because we are actually, we are eternal servants of Krishna. This is our Swarupa. Jiva Swarupa is to be eternal servant of Krishna. But devotional service, it will give you more. It will give you even more. Because service to the Lord, it's something that gives us some different experience, but we'll never be able to experience in this material world. But devotional service gives you so much so much subtle detail of what kind of devotional service you are going to perform to the Lord, how you will be related to Him, what is exactly your individual relationship with the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada starts his Bhagavad Gita, introduction in Bhagavad Gita. He speaks about this. He says, every living being out of the many, many billions and trillions of living beings has a particular relationship with the Lord eternally. So eternally means no beginning and no end. So it means that it's not that now you don't have that relationship and that one point it will start. You have it also now. That's why it's eternal. And this is called Svarupa. Svarupa means that eternal relationship of Lord. By the process of devotional service, one can revive that Svarupa. And that stage is called Svarupa Siddhi, perfection of one's constitutional position. So Arjuna was a devotee and he was in touch with the Supreme Lord in friendship. So by devotional service, we can understand, we can have a realization how we can be in touch with the Lord. Because Lord is a person, there is no something general, there is no something random. A person, very perfect person. So we can be in touch with Him in a very perfect, in a very specific way. And then again in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Srila Prabhupada says, the Lord says therefore, that only to those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendental love does He award the pure knowledge of devotion and love. In that way, the devotee can reach Him easily in ever blissful kingdom of God. So here is a little secret. Prabhupada said to be engaged in devotional service always. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. So we will have, by always engaging in devotional service, it said that it will be revealed to us the knowledge, the pure knowledge of devotion and love. So this love is a very significant word. Then Prabhupada says again, the real identity of the individual soul lies in understanding or attaining the knowledge that he is eternally servant of Krishna. This understanding is called Svarupopalabdhi. By culturing devotional service, the devotee gradually comes to understand his actual relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This understanding of one's spiritual position is called Svarupopalabdhi. And when one attains that stage, he can understand how he is related to the Lord, whether as a servant or a friend or as a parent or a conjugal lover. So just that constant engagement in devotional service can give us this pure knowledge of devotion and love. The process of hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord washes away the dirty things accumulated in the core of heart. So what are these dirty things? This is thinking, it's me, this body, this nose, this chin, air, everything is me. I am a woman because this body is mine, born as a woman, American, Indian, this and that. I'm now Devi Dasi. This is all bodily conception of life. Such and such Devi Dasi. I mean, just because I got name doesn't mean anything much. The service, that's what it means. That's what real name is, Das and Dasi. So, clears all the dirty things accumulated in the core of heart. As soon as one is freed from all the dirt of material contamination, one's original position as associate of the Lord is revealed. That is called Svarupa Siddhi, or the personal perfection. So these are all the glories of the nature and the effect of the spiritual world. I don't know about you, but to me, it sounds very attractive, very attractive. One time I was sitting in a bus. I was traveling in Ireland, and I was eating paratha, sitting in a bus and eating paratha. And one man, he came to me and sat next to me, and he asked, "Oh, what are you eating? Can I also try to taste?" So anyway, I gave him prasad. And of course, he was a Christian, so he wanted to debate. So then he was trying to challenge me in different things. So I thought, okay, what I can say him whatever I will say, he will just be arguing. So then I started to say that you can actually be related to the Lord in different relationships. And whatever I was saying, he was saying, "Oh, not interesting to me, not interesting to me, it doesn't interest to me." But when I read this, whatever we discussed today, to me, it seems very, very interesting. That's why I decided to share it with you today. So let's see now how to apply it in our lives. How we can apply this devotional life. What should be, how can it be, what should be our attitude? How can we proceed? So the first thing is to surrender. The first thing is to surrender. Prabhupada says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, if we actually surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna, our only desire should be to satisfy Krishna. This is pure Krishna consciousness. Surrender means not that we demand something from the Lord. We want to completely depend on His mercy. If Krishna likes, He may keep His devotee in poverty-stricken condition, or if He likes, He may keep him in an opulent position. The devotee should not be concerned in either case. He would simply be very anxious for trying to satisfy the Lord by rendering Him service. So this is the first thing what we need to understand when we come in touch with devotional service. We have to surrender to the Lord. We have to surrender to spiritual master and act our activity. Our activity should be in a way that it's pleasing to the Lord and pleasing to the spiritual master. So it means we have to offer everything. We have to offer our mind, we have to offer our intelligence, we have to offer our ideas. We have to surrender our ideas to Krishna. Yes, and plus we have to be fully engaged. Not only Monday morning, Sunday evening, 5 o'clock, 2 o'clock, fully. Our mind should be fully engaged in devotional service. It says the Lord is so kind that He takes away their material desires, there means people's material desires, and give them the highest benediction. Therefore, even for material motives, one should not worship any other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One must fully engage himself in devotional service of the Lord so that his desires will be fulfilled, and in the end, he can go back home, back to Godhead. So here you see, it's why I chose this quote, because here, even if someone is not fully convinced that I only want for pleasure of Krishna, something for pleasure of myself I also want. But here it said, even if you want something for your own pleasure, you have to still fully engage in this service. Still, if we engage fully in service, then your desires somewhat will be satisfied. But the main point will be that you will forget about these desires and you will attain the supreme destination. Yes, so everything should be for the satisfaction of the Lord. It said, one who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however difficult such work may be, is working under the principles of buddhi yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. Simple. So, and for satisfaction of the Lord, surrender, and what was another? Satisfaction of the Lord, surrender, and full engagement. Fully engaged for the satisfaction of the Lord and surrender. But not just that, not just fully engaged from my side, but I have to engage everything what I have in the Lord's service. That is a prerequisite. It said, by development of Krishna consciousness, one can know that everything has its use in the service of the Lord. For example, for an impersonalist, the Lord of the Absolute, being impersonal, cannot eat. There is an impersonalist tries to avoid good eatables. A devotee knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and he eats all that is offered to him in devotion. So after offering good eatables to the Lord, the devotee takes the remnants called prasadam. Thus everything becomes spiritualized and there is no danger of downfall. The devotee takes prasadam in Krishna consciousness, whereas non-devotee rejects as material. So everything can and has to be engaged for the service of the Lord. We are nearing to the end, but I still have a few things to say. And I wanted to share to you the beautiful poem, song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where he actually explains how everybody can engage everything for Krishna. Sometimes we think, but I'm a householder. I have a house. I need to go to work. I have 5 children. I have a wife, and I have many servants, and I have so many things. And I'm just fully bewildered in all that. I just will renounce everything, and then I can fully surrender to Krishna, and then I can engage everything. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, how a householder can also be pure devotee and engage everything in the service of Krishna. He says, "Oh Lord." So basically, it's about consciousness. He says, "Oh Lord, nothing further remains that can be called mine. Father, friend, brother, you alone are these things to me." So here, very interesting verse. It seems like he just wants to give up everything because Krishna is my father, Krishna is my friend, Krishna is my brother, everything is Krishna to me. Why do I need all these things around me? But it's not the way. It's not the way another thing what Bhaktivinoda Thakur tries to say is, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, "My wife, my friends, sons and daughters are now your servants and maidservants. Whatever care I take for them is only as they are like you." So householder realizes that all his relatives, all his family members are actually in very exalted position. They are servants of the Lord, and I take care of them because they are related to you, Krishna. He says, "Declaring that my wealth, family members, home and wife are truly yours, I continue as mere servant to dutifully protect them." So the head of the household puts himself in the position of the servant of all these exalted personalities in the house who are actually servants of the Lord. "For the purpose of your serving, I will earn money and bear the expenses of maintaining your household." So the house belongs to Krishna. The householder always has a deity, Gaurnitai or Radha Krishna, some have Krishna Balaram. So my service is to go to earn money so that I can maintain the Lord. Brahmachari in a temple will go on Sankirtan and collect money and bring it to the temple to maintain. So the householder will also go out to collect money to bring and maintain the Lord's house. "For the purpose of your service, I will earn money and bear expense of maintaining your household. I am nothing. I know nothing of good or bad. I simply render my service. I am but a watchman, set to guard the properties of your household." So this is the consciousness of a householder. He is guarding Krishna's property. He says, "I'm a watchman." One time I was visiting Surat, and we visited one house, and it was very beautiful, big house with beautiful Gaurnitai. And a wife was sitting there, she welcomed us, and a man came. And I asked devotee, "Oh, is this your house?" He said, No, this is Gaurnitai's house." And then based on this point, I said, "So you are a watchman?" He said, No, that's too exalted position for me. So his realization was very, very deep. And this house was really like an open temple where everyone could just come in and out a whole day long and visit Gaurnitai. So I exercise my senses only according to your direction, and thus I desire to hear, see, and smell and taste. So my desire to hear, see, smell, and taste is only to match what he likes to hear, smell, see, and taste. So Prabhupada also says, you type for Krishna, you write for Krishna, go outside for Krishna, Sankirtan party, sell book for Krishna, bring money for Krishna, spend for Krishna. Krishna, that's all. Everything for Krishna. So everything we do for Krishna. And then we will become blissful because it is sublime and easy. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he concludes, he says, I no longer do anything for my pleasure. Bhaktivinoda says, your pleasure is the essence of everything. So, and just to conclude, we have to understand that the application of this devotional service, there is one more very important aspect, and it's an urgency. It's urgent. We have to start now. If we still have not started this devotional service the way it is described before, we have to start now. It's urgent. It's very, very urgent. It is Narottam Das Thakur sings. Oh, sorry. It's I lost the quote now. It says, yes, Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, nonetheless, Krishna consciousness is so powerful that even a late beginner can become a lover of God by following the regulative principles of devotional service. So from any stage of life or from the time of understanding its urgency, one can begin regulating the senses in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord, and turn the lust into love of Godhead, the highest perfectional stage of human life. So when we can start doing all these things, it is from the time of understanding its urgency. That's where we can start. And just the last thing I want to read, that it's not just something of our choice. It is actually the order of Srila Prabhupada, that we have to engage in full devotional service, engaging everything for Krishna now. Prabhupada. Therefore, every one of you should become pure devotees, first-class devotees, first-class devotee. In this age, it has been made very easy. Simply keep yourself cleansed, not to indulge in four principles prohibition, and chant Hare Krishna. Then you will be first-class devotees. And wherever you will go, you will be able to purify there. Wherever you go, wherever you speak, wherever you sit, so keep your strengths intact. So Prabhupada says that everyone should become a first-class devotee. And then to make it easy, how to always remember Krishna, how to always absorb Krishna, Prabhupada offers very sweet meditation. What shall we do when we chant Hare Krishna? He says, the Hare Krishna mantra chanting means keeping Krishna always within your heart. It is not expensive at all. You haven't got to make a very exalted throne for Krishna. You can imagine that in my heart, I have placed now a very diamond throne and Krishna is sitting. That is accepted. Actually, it becomes, even within the mind, you think that I have kept one diamond throne, very costly throne, because Krishna is coming. He will sit down here. That is not false. That is a fact. So you can create such situation within your heart. Now Krishna has seated. Let me wash his feet within the Ganges water, Jamuna water. Now I change his dress to first-class costly garments. Then I decorate with ornaments. Then I'll give him for eating. You can simply think of this. This is meditation. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Is there any?
Hare Krishna, does
no.
anyone have any questions? You can unmute and ask. Hare Krishna, does anyone have any questions? It looks like you've given everyone meditation and not questions. They're nicely meditating on what you've been telling them. Okay, if no one's got any questions, we can end the class.